We are back with Your Town and the Arts of the Answer edition that I really have the pleasure of hosting. And today is a very, very special day where we're focusing on the power of poetry. And as you know, I like to have a theme each time, and usually I have 3 different guests, but our guest today, Garland Thompson Jr., is so amazing and has so many roles and just so much for our community that we're actually able to feature just him each segment. So we just we're finishing talking about the national competition, the Poetry Out Loud, featuring high school students who go from Monterey County to the state. The winners at the state go to Washington, D.C. They win scholarship money. They win book prizes. They win just the right to really be immersed in all these wonderful experiences. So we just did want to give a shout out to Kyla Ruvalcaba, who is our current champion at the county level, and she is going to Sacramento almost as we speak, where she will compete with California is a big old state, so there's going to be 57 other people, or 40
but
something.
At least 40
it's going to be
people.
A lot. So it's a big old state with a number of counties, and this is done at the county level. Then it goes to the state, and then should she win, as Arwa Awan has done, Robert Marchand has done, then she will actually end up going to Washington, D.C. and competing with the people who are representing each of their wonderful states. So thanks again to Garland for bringing that idea to Monterey County so that we could participate way back when, about 7 years ago.
It was 2009, actually.
2009.
Can you believe it?
So, and also for being one of our most stellar mentors and coaches. But now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about another way that Garland is really part of mentoring our youth and others who are just trying to figure out their way in becoming poets and really honing their craft and developing more opportunities. This is an extraordinary thing. One of the things that the Arts Council is all about is finding, expanding, even improving opportunities for everyone. So we're especially excited to talk today about the Poetry Slam that Garland, so you started it, you established it, and you keep it going. You still keep it going.
I still keep it
even
going.
with your bi-coastal life, you're still in there. It's such a great thing for our community. So let's talk about what is the origin story of the slam, of your particular slam?
My slam, which is known as the Rubber Chicken Poetry Slam and open mic, we are a combination of open mic and a poetry slam. The slam is a competition and the open mic is anything. We started in 2003. I actually had been, I like to say now, sort of stalked, actually, for about 2 years or so. By a young woman, a lovely young lady, Catherine Petrocelli, who used to live here in Monterey County. She used to be a writer for the Monterey County Herald. She's a poet herself and a writer and a journalist. She was very interested in the Poetry Slam, so whenever I would produce slams for You at First Night Monterey, and then I wasn't doing anything regular. I didn't want to do anything regular because I had done it in Texas where I had lived beforehand, and I knew how much work it was, and I was doing it all by myself. So I'm like, so people would come, oh, we should do this, we should do that, but nobody was ever really serious about taking on some of the workload. Well, Catherine used to come to every slam for literally about 2.5 years. Every slam I produced in the area, she came, and after every one, she would come up to me and say, this is fantastic, can we do this more? This needs to happen more regular, more. And I'm like, yeah, okay, great, but, work, etc. So finally, after I said about 2 years or so, she came to me after one of the shows, I think it might have been First Night, and said, okay, you know what, I'm ready. I'm really serious.
Wow.
Let's do this. I want to make this happen.
Okay.
So I
didn't know about this part.
I looked at her and I realized how serious she was, and I went, okay. So we sat down at what was then Morgan's Coffee and Tea, and we sat down for about 2 hours, and we hashed the whole thing out. We came up with the whole idea, the whole concept. We worked it all out, and it was very funny because we got all the logistics, all the mechanics. We're going to do this. Morgan said we could be here on Wednesday night, so we'll be here on Wednesday. We'll do it at this time, etc. All that stuff, and finally we got down to the last thing, which was like, what are we going to call it? We had no idea. We were like, oh my God, I had no idea. So we batted around all sorts of really ridiculous names and stuff, and nothing was sticking. And finally, out out of exasperation, really, I said, we should just call it something completely ridiculous, like, I don't know, the Rubber Chicken Poetry Slam.
Yeah.
And we both cracked up, and we laughed for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we looked at each other and went, hey, that's not bad. And so we went for it. And so the Rubber Chicken Poetry Slam and Open Mic was born then, and we began to do it bi-weekly first at Morgan's Coffee and Tea on Wednesday nights. And then after about 2 years or so, the demand got to be so much that, and then Morgan asked us, can you do this more? And so we moved it to a weekly, and we've been weekly ever since.
That's amazing.
And yeah, we've survived through all the various owners.
Yeah.
It's now the East Village Coffee
Right,
Lounge, owned by Carmel Valley Roasting Company. Thank you to them.
Yeah.
And we've just sort of been grandfathered in.
That's so amazing. Well, it's because it's working. So can you talk about, you know, especially like paint a picture for people who have never been, and they might feel intimidated. Like, it sounds cool, but I'm afraid to go.
Well, the first thing I'd have to say, I'd have to warn people, it's a pretty raucous affair. This isn't your grandmother's.
I heard it was especially raucous last week, but that's, we'll get to that.
Yes. It's definitely not your grandmother's poetry reading.
Okay.
It's not ladies' tea time. No offense against the ladies. I love ladies' tea time, but it's not that. It's not quiet, sit down. It's on your feet. We have a mic. I have an opening theme song.
Oh, you
I have
do?
a closing theme song. I treat it like a show.
Do
very
people
much
play
like
with
a
that
show.
theme? Are they required in any way?
No, they're not required to.
Okay.
They can if they want to.
So it's a springboard if you
It's a
need it.
spring,
or
yeah.
want.
It's a spring,
Okay.
yeah. And it's basically, it's kind of the intro. It's kind of like when you would hear the old Johnny Carson show or Jimmy Kimmel show or something, and they have their song that plays them in.
Okay.
So that's what it is. So
Okay.
I have my song that plays me
Oh,
in,
sweet.
Soul Bossa Nova by Quincy Jones, and so I come in and basically. It's an open mic and a poetry slam. The open mic, you can do anything you want.
Is
in
it segmented so at first there's an open mic and then there's the slam?
No, this is actually where we do it a little bit
You just
differently.
weave it all in
We
together?
weave it all together.
Wow.
We mash it, and I guarantee you, I've not heard of anybody else in any other part of the country or the world doing this together. We mash them, what I like to call, we mash the two forms together. So we start off with, we open the show with two open micers. I'll come on and I'll do an opening spiel, and I'll introduce and take care of housekeeping and introduce. I have a DJ, and so I introduce my DJ. I give a shout out to the baristas, because we have to give love to our baristas. And then I do a poem myself, usually one of my own, or sometimes I'll read some Langston Hughes or another great poet. It's what I like to call my cultural palate cleanser. Kind of like when you go have sushi, you eat the ginger to cleanse your palate, so you're ready for the different tastes and what have you. That's kind of what I call my poem. So I kind of get them in the mode. And so people come in and they're sitting down and they hear me do a poem, and it also gives me a chance to sort of set the bar a little bit.
Oh, sure, yeah. That's a really great thing.
And which is an important thing.
It is.
And that's the thing I'm very proud to say, is that people who come to perform, whether they're in the open mic or the poetry slam, they come with what I like to say, loaded for bear.
Yeah.
You know, they bring their A game. They don't come to play around. And even, but now at the same time, now that could sound very intimidating, right? But at the same time, we're an incredibly forgiving place. We're an incredibly loving place. Our audiences are some of the sweetest audiences you'll ever find. If someone forgets a line and they go up in the middle and they're like, you'll hear people going, you got it, go ahead, you got it, go ahead.
So good,
Or they'll let them start over again.
Yeah.
They'll encourage them. We had a young lady who was coming up until just a few months ago. Her name was Maddie. Young woman, and very shy young woman, very, very shy. She had, literally serious anxiety. Speaking in front of any kind of crowd, she would shut down, have panic attacks. She literally would run away. But she knew this was something she wanted to deal with, this fear.
Wow.
So she started signing up for the open mic and the poetry slam, and she started getting up there to read her poetry. And the first 2 or 3 times she did it, literally the first time she did it, she went out there, she could barely look at anybody, she literally didn't say anything, just ran off and ran away because she had a panic attack. But we were like, you know what? We were like, give her a round of applause. She had the courage to get up there. She's facing her fears.
So
and
awesome.
thank you to the audience for helping her face her fears. And several months later, you'd never know that she had a problem speaking in front of anybody.
That's my favorite thing.
It's amazing. So at the same time, while it can seem very intimidating, like I said, it's kind of loud, it's kind of raucous. I'm also kind of a loud ham on the microphone. I'm a Mr. Entertainer kind of guy.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. is a big influence on me, and the guy with the top hat, the ringmaster.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a combination of all those things. And basically, my job is to kind of keep the energy up.
I was just going to say, you kind of keep the adrenaline just where it should be.
Yes, keep it up
Yeah.
and what have you. I harangue people to applaud for people that even if they don't know them, I said, don't worry. Said applaud even if you don't know them. Why? Because number one, it's good for your soul.
Bet it is, yeah.
Number two, it's hella motivational for the performers.
Yeah.
Right? And number three, it's great exercise because you're doing this, you're moving, you're exercising. Right? So all those reasons, and it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I often will say, give them another round of applause, for whatever. I try very much to listen to what it is that they're doing and saying so that I can sort of have something witty or charming or whatever to kind of jump into. I like to have fun.
So you've been doing this now for a long time.
This is our 15th year.
Oh, it's 15. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
And so do any, that you're talking about Maddie, are there others that really stand out for you that you witnessed their transformation in some sort of a way? So they came maybe week one and they were fine, and then by week 5, 6, or 7, something really, really took off for them.
There's definitely some different folks. There's a young lady by the name of Heather Flesher, who has become a playwright. Heather came to us way back in our first couple of years when we started, and then kind of went away and came back to us. And now when Heather first joined us, Heather was actually a man because Heather was born a man. But in the course of those years, Heather was finding out that she really was a woman.
Yeah.
And so began the process of physically and dealing with all of that. And has and now it's been a tough ride for Heather in her life. She's had a lot of depression, a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But she kept coming back, and she would get up and she would sing songs, and then she started reading poems that she wrote that were literally facing head on the issues that trans people face and what she was facing. The crippling depression. She would write about how she couldn't even some days get out of the house to go down to the corner store to do some shopping. She was that, and so. But we watched her, and in fact, she came out to us completely once. It was amazing. She stood up in front of the whole audience and said, I'm going through the process, I'm becoming a woman, I'm now a woman, etc. So, and Heather got to a point also where Heather began to write her own plays. She wrote a play that the Paper Wing Theater produced.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then produced her own book.
So how did that make you feel as being, you're part of that whole process? You're giving people a platform, but also like the way you do with the kids at the Poetry Out Loud, you have that gentle way of encouraging, leading by example, and helping them to get to that next level. So you don't tell, like you were talking about with the Poetry Out Loud, you're not telling them what to do. No. Here's how you can do it better. But there is something very magical about the way you just shepherd the whole entire process so they do get better. And in her case, to be able to completely write a play and have that produced, it's just amazing. It's
absolutely amazing. Now, I will not take credit for any of her writing or anything like that at all.
Well, for at least being one of those facilitators, providing opportunity and whatnot. Yeah,
absolutely. That's one thing. It is about that, providing an opportunity, providing a platform, and making it as welcoming a platform as possible.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of too.
Because that's actually part of my job as the MC, as the host. It's like being the host of a dinner party.
Yeah.
You want all your guests to have a great time.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever that great time means to them. Right? It could be the great conversation they have. It could be the great meal that they had. Whatever it is that they find, you want them to walk out the door knowing that they didn't waste their time.
Now, one of the things that we talked about with the Poetry Out Loud is the exchange of voices, the person who wrote and the person who's presenting. Maybe they're decades or even centuries apart. But that's a magic that happens. And it occurs to me that at the slams, one of the things that you're weaving is you're building a community.
Yes.
So this is a dinner party where there's a bit of a competitive situation, which there actually is at every dinner party. And but there's strangers to a certain degree or whatnot. And it sounds to me like you're also creating that sense of community for the people who may be just listening or the people who are thinking about doing more later, and certainly for the people who are there performing.
Absolutely. Everything I do, every hammy thing I do, every joke I crack, every ridiculously dumb thing I do up there, every self-deprecating comment, everything I do is geared towards creating that community, making it a welcome place. And what I have seen, and I'm thrilled to be able to report this, is that people come. Many people have come, people who've just moved to the area, don't know a soul in the area. They come on Wednesday nights, all of a sudden they're meeting all these people, and they have new friends. A perfect example is a young gentleman by the name of Cowboy Star, he goes by. Christopher Bryan is his name, a Cowboy Star. He is currently the tech director at the Golden State Theater, and he works all over the area, the county, doing tech work, but he's also a singer and a songwriter, a great musician, great singer and songwriter. He's done work with various bands. Well, he moved here about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago to the county, to Monterey. Didn't know a soul. Had no clue about anybody, but was a young man, liked to play music, liked to play guitar and write songs. So he found out about us. He came, and he plugged himself right in. And all of a sudden now, in fact, he told me this not long ago, that just about all of the friends that he has in Monterey now have come from going to our event on Wednesday nights.
And if I understand it, there's also people are there of all ages.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad you brought
My son
that
was
up.
right there. He just turned 18, and I know he was in the audience because somebody else told me. He was not 18.
We have all ages. We've had, for a while, a couple of years ago, we had a father that was bringing in his 9-year-old daughter.
Oh, yeah.
She wanted to be a singer, and she was actually an incredible singer, and she wanted to pursue music. He brought her there to give her a chance to try out and to sing a song in front of people. They loved it so much, had such a great time, they literally came for almost a year.
Wonderful.
And she worked in. Now on the other end, I've got a couple who are in their 70s that show up literally every Wednesday. I was just looking at the pictures, and I realize now it's going on about 2 years or so.
Isn't that great?
They live in Aptos. Ike and Sheila Waltz, and they're incredible. Ike is a former professional ballet dancer from Europe who used to pal around with Rudolf Nureyev and people like that, and danced on all the great stages in Europe. Became an engineer, but was also an artist. Is a sculptor and has been a writer.
Well, we have to leave it right there, but really, thank you for your leadership on that. I would ask you if people wanted to come and sign up. What's the process? Did they just arrive, or how do they have to do something online?
You just show up to the East Village Coffee Lounge at 7 o'clock is when the sign-up sheet goes out, and our show runs on a Wednesday night, and our show runs from 7:30 to 9:30.
Okay,
so
wonderful.
Just come and sign up the list.
Okay, this is your chance, all right? So you be there on a Wednesday. Thank you so much, Garland. It's just so great to hear about all these wonderful things and to share with our audience what's happening and what could yet be happening for themselves as well.